Hello students, myself Sarita Devi, Biology lecturer, Government Girls Senior Secondary School, Jatiala, Jalandhar. Today I will discuss last chapter of biotechnology, that is Principles and Processes of Biotechnology. And our topic is bioreactors and downstream processing. In this topic, we will study how to obtain the foreign gene product, bioreactors and types of bioreactors, downstream processing. Now, we have already studied how recombinant DNA is formed, and let us discuss the steps. First is isolation of the genetic material, then cutting of the DNA at specific locations to obtain our genetic material by using restriction enzymes, then amplification of gene of interest. By using polymerase chain reaction, we will obtain several copies of our desired gene. Then these desired genes are inserted into the vector, and vector is introduced into the host cell, where it will multiply and form clones of it. Finally, we will obtain the foreign gene product. This is an overview of recombinant DNA technology. This is a donor cell from which we will obtain the foreign DNA, and we will break this DNA into fragments by using restriction enzyme. Then we will take the bacterial cell, from where we will take the plasmid. Plasmid is the vector DNA. Then this desired gene of interest will be inserted in the vector, and ligase enzyme will join foreign DNA to plasmid. Then there is a formation of recombinant DNA. It contains DNA of two different species. It will grow inside the host bacterium with recombinant DNA will form clones of recombinant DNA. So we will obtain several copies of our desired gene in the form of recombinant products. Then by a process of downstream processing, that is separation and purification of product is done, and we will finally obtain a product. When a desired foreign gene is inserted into a vector and transferred into a suitable host, the foreign DNA gets multiplied. Now DNA in vector, it will replicate, it will transcribe, it will form messenger RNA, then it will translate to form the proteins. Proteins will give their expression. So according to the central dogma, so the expression of the proteins will be obtained. So if we want our gene of interest to multiply in the host cell and to obtain these desired proteins, we have to carry out several processes. So the ultimate aim of recombinant technology is to produce the desirable proteins. What we aim to do in the recombinant technology is to produce our desirable proteins. So these are expressed into suitable conditions. These proteins, they will express themselves in the host cell if it gets suitable conditions. So these suitable conditions are proper temperature, pH, oxygen, substrate, salts and vitamins for its growth, and it will form several copies. Now, if any protein encoding gene is expressed in a heterologous host, it is called recombinant protein. Now, the desired gene, it is expressed in the heterologous host. So, where it expresses itself, that host will be known as heterologous host. So, if we take an example of insulin, Insulin is a gene of humans and it is introduced into the E. coli. So it is not a gene of E. coli. There it will express itself in that host. That host will be known as heterologous host. And this protein, which will show its expression in case of this E. coli, then this protein will be known as recombinant protein. Now these recombinant cells which are carrying the recombinant genes, they are to be produced on a large scale so that we can get large yield of our product. So here in order to obtain the gene products, we can follow two types of cultures. One is batch culture and the other is continuous culture. So first we will study what is batch culture. It is a closed system that carries out fermentation with a fixed amount of nutrients. In this case, we add the nutrients as well as our inoculum and from one side, and the process continues in this closed vessel. As a result, after all the nutrients are used by the microorganisms and the product is formed, it will be obtained from here afterwards. So this culture works in the form of small batches. In some cases, if one or more nutrients is added like glucose, as it is used up or it is reduced in this container, then it is added to the medium, then it is called fed batch culture. Now this is continuous culture. It is an open system which continuously carries out a fermentation. So from one side the fresh medium is added and from the other side it is extracted. So this is a continuous culture in which there is a regular flow of the nutrients and the products are taken out continuously. As a result, these microorganisms in it, they remain in physiological active state, and these microorganisms, they are regularly these are getting the required nutrients. As a result, the products will be obtained from here, and this type of culture is known as continuous culture, and the microorganisms are in the exponential phase. Now let us see the difference between the batch culture and continuous culture. Fixed amount of nutrients are added at the start in case of the batch culture. In case of the continuous culture, nutrients are added all the time. Microorganisms, they go through the lag phase, then log phase, then the stationary phase. But in case of the continuous flow, microorganisms are maintained in the log phase, that is the exponential phase, growing phase all the time. Product formed for a short time, but in case of the continuous culture, products are formed all the time for a long period. Now, methods of culturing. We can culture on a small scale or on a large scale. So first we will discuss the cells having cloned genes may be grown on a small scale. That is, in the laboratory we take a petri dish and we take microorganisms in it with a desired gene, and as a result small quantities of the product is obtained. So here we can obtain about 500 ml to 1 liter of the product. Then next is the cultures may be isolated, then extracted, and desired proteins are purified, and they are purified by using different separation techniques. Now if we want the cells to be multiplied in a continuous culture, if we want the cells in a large quantity, then we have to utilize continuous culture. This type of culturing method produces a large biomass leading to a higher yield. For the higher yield, we require bioreactors, and they will give us larger quantities of our products. Here is a bioreactor here, and we will obtain large quantities of our product. These are also bioreactors. Now let us study bioreactor. Bioreactor is an apparatus. So it is a apparatus for culturing organisms. We can culture algae, fungi, bacteria, animal cell or plant cell under controlled conditions in a bioreactor. Bioreactors are used for industrial processes. We can obtain several types of industrial products from here. We can also obtain pharmaceuticals. To produce pharmaceuticals can be produced by the bioreactors. We can produce vaccines or antibodies. In bioreactors, raw materials, what we have added, are biologically converted with the help of microorganisms into specific products. Bioreactor is a cylindrical with a curved base. It has it facilitates the mixing of the reactor contents, which will help to mix all the contents which are present in the bioreactor. It is fitted with the stirrer, which will facilitate even mixing, so all the microorganisms, they get sufficient oxygen. Air is also bubbled through the bioreactor because the microorganisms, they are respiring aerobically. This is a bioreactor. It has an agitator for mixing, oxygen delivery system, a temperature control system, foam control system because foam will be formed in it, pH control system. It also has sampling pods by which you can introduce materials inside the bioreactors or take out samples to check microorganisms they are growing inside the bioreactor. Now this is a diagram of a bioreactor. Now let us study its structure in details. So it uses a continuous culture and medium is added regularly to it. Stirrer tank is there. Also this is made up of steel or copper. So it has a metallic structure. Now it has several inlets inside it for the medium to be added. For the inoculum, there is an agitator system. There is acid-base control system, then cooling devices. If you see the base of the bioreactor, it is curved base. So this curved base will help in even mixing of all the contents. Now it has steam for sterilization. So oxygen can be distributed uniformly and it reaches to all the microorganisms inside the bioreactor. It also prevents the setting of the cells at the bottom of the bioreactor. Then there is a cooling device. This is a cooling device. So there is a thermal jacket of cool water used to control temperature. Now suppose if the temperature rises or it is heated up, then cold water flows in it. But if the temperature is high, if the temperature is low, then hot water will flow around it, so the temperature of the bioreactor is maintained. Now there is also acid base for pH control. If the inside the bioreactor, if it becomes acidic, then small amount of base can be added, or if it becomes basic, then small amount of acid can be added. So acid base is controlled by this port inlet device. Now there are also sensors for acid base detection as well as temperature regulation and these sensors, they will help to know about the condition of the bioreactors. There is an agitator. This is an agitator inside the bioreactor. It is fitted with the motor and it has blades, and these lower blades, they help in even mixing of the contents and the oxygen, whereas the upper one is the foam breaker. As foam will be formed due to the reactions inside these microorganisms, and this foam has to be broken down continuously, otherwise it will accumulate here. As a result, oxygen will not be supplied to all the microorganisms, so it breaks the foam. Then there is a effluent pipe by which we the harvest line by which we can obtain the products, the desired gene or the desired products in the form of proteins are obtained from this harvester line. So this is a complete structure of a stirrer type of simple stirred tank bioreactor. And this portion of the bioreactor, 3/4 of the bioreactor is filled with the nutrients, to which a small amount of inoculum, that is the transformates with the desired gene, are added, and they will multiply when it will get all the suitable conditions inside it. Now this is the sparge tank bioreactor. So in this case, for proper aeration, air can be forced in the bottom of the tank through a porous ring called a sparger by a process of spraying, and large number of bubbles are formed in the bioreactor. These bubbles will dramatically increase the oxygen transfer area inside the bioreactor. You can see here this surface area of the bioreactor is increased. So increased surface area for oxygen transfer, and more oxygen is available for the microorganisms. So this is a sparge stirred tank bioreactor. There is a hollow tube with small holes in it through which air under pressure forms large number of air bubbles. These bubbles directly rises up and into the impeller blades, which facilitates bubble breakup and utilization by the microorganisms. The process then is the downstream processing. The process like separation and purification of biosynthetic products before it is ready for marketing as a finished product is known as downstreaming processing. So downstreaming processing helps us to obtain the desired proteins, and these proteins are to be separated and purified. Then they are utilized or sent to the market. These all processes after the formation of the desired product is known as downstream processing. Now it involves sequential steps like isolation of the product, purification of the product, then preservation of the product, quality control testing. So quality control is checked, then commercialized, the product is commercialized. So this quality control varies from product to product. Now the genes or the proteins, means the genes which have expressed in the form of the proteins, they can be present inside the cell. Then they are known as intracellular products. Now if they are present outside the cells, then they are known as extracellular products. If they are present inside the cells, then first cell is broken down, then the next processes like filtration, centrifugation is done to obtain the desired products. Now let us recapitulate what we have studied. So culturing the host cell, extraction of the desired product, recombinant DNA is made to express under appropriate conditions. The host cells are cultured in a vessel called bioreactors. The desired protein is then obtained by the process of downstreaming. Now, what is downstreaming? So, the process like separation and purification of biosynthetic product before it is ready for marketing as a finished product is known as downstream processing. So, all the steps which we will carry out after obtaining a product are known as downstream processing. Now, what are the steps in downstream processing? We have already studied isolation of the product, formulation of the products with preservatives. Preservatives are to be added for long life of these products. Clinical trials of the drugs are to be done. Strict quality control testing of each product, and it will vary from product to product. Now, let us discuss the questions related to the topic. Name the type of bioreactor shown. Write the purpose for which it is used. Now, if you see the diagram, you will see there is this agitator system with blades. So, it is a type of simple stirred tank bioreactor. So, what is the purpose of the bioreactors? Bioreactors are used to produce large quantities of the desired gene products. Now, next question, what are recombinant proteins? How do bioreactors help in their production? So, recombinant proteins are produced by the expression of recombinant DNA in transgenic organism. So, if we take an example of insulin, insulin is that is the desired gene. It is introduced into the host cell and it shows its expression in it. Then that type of host will be known as heterologous host, and the protein which we will obtain from it, that will be known as recombinant protein. So, large volumes of culture can be processed in a bioreactor to produce desired quantity of product. These also provide optimal conditions required for host to grow. Bioreactor provides all the conditions like pH, oxygen, as well as temperature and nutrients to the host to grow. Next question. What are the bioreactors used for? Bioreactors are used for converting the raw materials into specific products biologically, such as proteins, enzymes. So it will use microbial, plant or animal cells for the production of these products. Name the commonly used bioreactor and any of its two components. So the most commonly used bioreactors are the stirred type of bioreactors. The two components of the stirred type of bioreactors, you can write any of these. Inlet for the sterile air, agitator system, temperature control system, pH control system. So all these components are present in the bioreactor, which will provide suitable conditions for the host cell to grow so that we can obtain the desired products in a large quantity. Now highlight the differences between a flask in your laboratory and a bioreactor which allows cells to grow in a continuous culture system. So you have to tell the difference between the bioreactor and simply a flask which we use in a laboratory to grow the continuous in a flask in a laboratory to produce the products. So what is the difference between the two? Bioreactor is a cylindrical structure with a curved base. Stirrer is present for even mixing and oxygen availability in a reactor. So this is a stirrer, and it helps in mixing and oxygen availability in the reactor. So all the microorganisms, they get proper amount of oxygen. In the bioreactor, there is an agitator system for even mixing, foam control system to control the foam that is formed. Temperature will also be controlled. So their pH control system is also there. These all systems are present in the bioreactors. Now, so this is a flask. Here, in case of a flask, when we use it for culturing the product, culturing the host and producing the products, flask in a laboratory, it cannot be used for producing recombinant DNA on a large scale because it will utilize a batch culture. Small amount of nutrients will be added and the products will be in a small amount. So it will not give the results like a bioreactor. Flask cannot be used to grow culture continuously. If one batch of culture is used up, then again we have to add the culture again to produce our products. So this will also give less amount of our desired product. So this is the difference between the bioreactors that are used for the large scale production of the products and of ordinary flask in a laboratory that will give us a less amount of our desired products. So this completes biotechnology lesson in which we have studied how to obtain the foreign gene product, types of bioreactors, and downstream processing by which we obtain our desired products. Thank you.